For 3,000 years, the Wadi Hammamat was the major trading road between Thebes and the Red Sea, and hence was the gateway to the Silk Road. In the days of the Great Egyptian Revolt, the desert road was also the main escape for refugees, both Greek and Egyptian, as the two sides fought for control of the treasured trade route. Wadi Hammamat, Egypt, 199 BCE. The desert caravan traveled at a snail's pace. Crowds of refugees made the trek on foot, all victims of the civil war. At the moment, Egyptians were heading to Qusir, hoping to find work and safety, but months before, the Greeks were the ones fleeing along the desert route. The sandy road stretched out before Natasa, winding between craggy rock canyons and cliffs. The longer they traveled, the more rolling sandstone hills they encountered. Long ago, before men walked these lands, an ancient river had carved its way through the earth, leaving behind a path between the Nile and the sea, and a way to flee Egypt. The desolate, sandy landscape was more than her path to safety. It had become her world. Just because Natasa was silent didn't mean her mind was quiet. No, to be Natasa was to hear voices, thousands of them, whispering horrible truths. Whore, self-indulgent, sinner, careless, failure, murderer. Over and over they taunted her. Every living moment of her life was a nightmare. You should be dead. Truth. They spoke the truth. The moment she tried to connect with her Ka, the voices would start. There was no place to hide. They attacked from all directions. Her soul was naked before their taunts. You murdered your child. There is no mercy for you. Truth. Her child had died for her sins, yet somewhere beyond the cruel cacophony was her lover, Ankhmakis. She sensed him calling her, and she wanted to answer. You don't deserve the prince. He never loved you. It was all for nothing. It was impossible to hide from the truth, and in those moments when she was about to scream from the madness of it all, she'd focus on the wind, or the sands, or the rocking hips of the camel sauntering in front of her along the desert road, and Natasa would detach from her humanity, surrendering to their perfect, non-human, emotionless harmony, far removed from her own defiled existence. The elements, plants, and animals were her refuge, and she no longer existed in her body. Her own skin felt foreign, dead and cold like stone. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The desert crawled by. Wind whipped the linens wrapped around her head about her face. The sun god Ra dried her lips with his hot kiss. She constantly thirsted, yet no water could quench her need. Sometimes she walked. Other times she rode in a wagon. There were settlements made of low brick houses in which she stayed to rest. Sleep was elusive, and when she did drift into her dreams, the voices often woke her up, forcing her to seek refuge from her mind. Indulgent whore, murderer, filth. Truth. She was a murderer and a whore. Before she could remember why, she'd seek a place between the other travelers by the evening fire and stare into the flames, connecting to the form of the flickering element of fire, vanishing from the voices in her head and all who were around her. Sometimes her mother and father talked about her in concerned, hushed tones, but the firelight was safer than human interaction. It was a quiet abyss, a place where the voices couldn't find her. By the time they arrived at the Red Sea, she was disconnected from humanity and from her very own life force. Natasa now lived within the life force of the earth herself, where no humans or emotions or voices could find her.